You ready to win your IDP waiver wires this week? Are you ready to dominate your league mates and get these gems off the waiver wire? Well, we've got some for you. We got some great guys at every position: linebacker, defensive line, the secondary. We're going to take care of you, as we always do. If you guys want to find the article, the written version of this, with maybe a little bit more insight and some of Kraig's juicy tidbits, rotoheat.com. You can get to our Discord. You can have the conversation with us live. With that being said, let's get to it. What linebackers are we talking about?
Yeah, so first one we have is Quay Walker, linebacker for the Packers. So we talked about him a lot this offseason when he got drafted. Were they going to end up using two linebackers? Were they not? How's it going to look? And ends up they have been. So he is sitting with 18 solos, 8 assists, a tackle for loss, and a forced fumble with a pass deflection. Still not the number one inside guy. That is still Devontae Campbell, but they are both playing quite a bit. They are both getting you numbers, and he should be rostered in redraft leagues at this point. I'll have dynasty leagues. I'm sure he's already rostered, but again, for redraft, he's a guy you want to go look at, especially with this week. If you're having injuries that you're having to overcome and stuff facing the Giants, who've really gone run heavy, we know, and the Packers just got run all over by the Patriots, so they're probably going to utilize that same game plan. Another one is due to injury. We have Jacob Phillips, linebacker for the Browns. Anthony Walker had won the job for the second year in a row with JOK as the other guy, but Anthony Walker tore his quad in week 3, and Phillips took over in that game, had a 78% snap share and 100% snap share this past week when he had 6 solos and assist and a quarterback hit. Prior loss when he took over, he had 2 solos, 5 assists, tackle for a loss, sack, and a pass deflection. He's got a great shot at being a third linebacker if you have 3 or flex position value. Another guy that we have here came back from an injury. Josey, linebacker for the Broncos. Missed the first 2 weeks, but he has a 97.3% snap share the past 2 weeks with 12 solos, 11 assists, 3 tackles for a loss, sack, and a fumble recovery just in 2 weeks. He's the guy in the middle right now. Might as well pick him up if he hasn't already been grabbed. Next one is also a Bronco, and this is sort of a hybrid depending on the league that you play in. Of course, we tell you to know that, but it's a linebacker or an edge. I really only consider him in edge type leagues, but he's taken over for Randy Gregory. It's Baron Browning. Didn't do a whole lot this past week when he stepped in to take over for Gregory with a solo and assist, but he showed a lot. The preseason, the coaches were big fans of him, and they had them take that transition to the edge player this year. Randy Gregory is going to be out 2 to 6 weeks, they said, with arthroscopic surgery. He's going to be the guy taking over, it looks like, and I really do like him if he has that edge or in some leagues defensive lineman eligibility.
Yeah, he was a promising guy coming out of Ohio State, so definitely an exciting way to go. Let's hope it plays well. And next up, let's talk about some defensive linemen. So we've got some interesting names on here, and a few of them popped this week. Denico Autry had a huge week. What say you about the rest of these guys?
Yeah, Denico Autry's the second name, if you will, along with Jeffrey Simmons, but Autry's been putting up just as good sort of numbers, and they're playing the Commanders, who are just giving up a ton of pressure this year on that offensive line. So he's a great guy to plug in there. Josh Sweat's another one of them for Philadelphia. He has the highest snap share of defensive linemen. He has 9 solos, 4 assists, 4 tackles for a loss, and 2.5 sacks on the year. He's a top 15 defensive lineman in most sort of leagues, defensive end. He'd be a little bit further down with the defensive tackles included. Eagles have a really easy schedule this year too outside of Dallas, so he's a guy that you can be considering probably someone you want to have as either your third defensive lineman or a starter in some leagues. Another one is a rookie, Boye Mafe. Again, sort of a defensive end, edge linebacker, no designations, no, it makes sense. But his snap share has been going up each of the weeks that he's played so far this year. He didn't do anything in week 1 as far as a stat line, but in the past 3 weeks then, 10 solos, 3 assists, a tackle for a loss, and a sack. You know that Seahawks defense is on the field quite a bit. They're giving up points. Offense is actually scoring points for them too, which is great. It gives that sort of balance that we want with IDP. So he's, again, the guy, dynasty leagues, he's probably rostered. Redraft leagues, you can probably go grab him if it makes sense with that eligibility. And then our defensive tackle, John Reed, has actually played quite a bit coming over on a 1-year deal to the Packers, 62.7% snap share, and he's tied for 5th in solo tackles for defensive tackles. We mentioned they're playing the Giants, who are running a lot this week, and Reed's playing really well, so I like him.
Yeah, Mafe is probably my favorite of this list, as he's a guy that Seattle he's going to need to trust. And that Seattle defense is not good. Detroit's been putting up points on everybody, but that defense is really struggling. So a guy like Mafe could be a huge get for the rest of the season. All right, so let's round it out. Let's talk about the DBs. So there's some names on here that people aren't going to hear about. What's going on here?
Yeah, we got a whole bunch of weird names on here. We'll start with your guy because he's on your team now, the Lions. DeShon Elliott sort of taking over as that primary safety for the Lions as far as what he's producing. Tracy Walker's out for the year. They had Juju Hughes, Kirby Joseph, the other weeks that neither one of them really did a whole lot promising. But DeShon Elliott has 23 solos, 5 assists on the year with a 98% snap share. He's like a top 35 safety or so. He's a guy that you can definitely plug in and play and don't feel terrible because he's going to get you the tackles with the way that defense is turning into a sieve, unfortunately, for Brad right now. It's exciting. Your team has scored the most points on the year, but also giving up the most points on the year. For fantasy, there's nothing wrong with that. Rudy Ford, there's a name Brad alluded to. Most people probably don't even know. Adrian Amos left in the first quarter against the Patriots. Rudy Ford replaced him at a 76% snap share. Not sure what is up with Adrian going into the Sunday morning game in London with the Giants, but if he does sit because of head injuries, and we've seen everything going on with those in the NFL these days, Rudy Ford played really well. And he also has cornerback eligibility in ESPN League, so it's even better if you're in ESPN League and you have to start a cornerback if Rudy Ford's going to be starting safety, kind of like a cheat code for a week anyway. Right. Damar Hamlin, safety for the Bills. He took over for Micah Hyde. That's about all you need to know. In 2 games, he has 10 solos, 2 assists, a tackle for a loss, and a half a sack, which is really nice production for a guy that's seemingly going to be safety on a high-powered offense opposite of him for the Bills. And then a cornerback for the week, Cameron Sutton of the Steelers. He's got about 100% snap share as one of the starting corners, 11 solos and assists, 5 pass deflections, and 2 interceptions. And they do face the Bills in week 5 here, and the Bills are giving up 4th most points to opposing cornerbacks. So for a guy that you're going to need to start someone in a quarterback required league, he's a great pickup that's pretty much available all over.
And that's it. There you go, folks. You got questions, hit rotoheat.com. If you got more questions, you can hit us up on Twitter. You can find us at Rotoheat Kraig, at Rotoheat Brad. We always like to chat with the folks, and we thank you guys. We will see you again next week.